Standing at gate 47 with our 3 kids, I watched my husband of 12 years walk away, dragging his suitcase behind him. He had no idea I'd already uncovered the real reason he canceled our dream vacation. And what happened next? Let's just say karma knows how to make an entrance. Have you ever thought you knew someone inside and out, only for them to destroy everything you trusted about them in a single moment? I'm Selena, and if you've ever felt like your life was built on a lie, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story will change how you think about trust forever. It was supposed to be the perfect day. After 18 months of sleepless nights with our youngest, Phoenix, endless overtime at my marketing job, and Garrett climbing the ladder at his engineering firm, we'd finally made it. 8 months of planning, 2 years of pinching pennies, and $12,000 later, we stood in Terminal B with 3 kids and enough bags to outfit a small town. Costa Rica. Our first real family vacation since Phoenix was born, and honestly, the first chance in years for Garrett and me to have more than a fleeting moment alone. Mila, our 8-year-old, was buzzing with excitement, gripping her new camera and asking every minute if we could swim with dolphins. Tobias, 6 and bursting with energy, was already plotting to build the ultimate sandcastle. And Phoenix, our 18-month-old miracle, babbled happily in his stroller, unaware of the adventure awaiting us. I looked at them and thought, this is it. This is the memory our family will cherish forever. But something was off with Garrett. I'd noticed it for weeks, actually. The man who used to share everything with me had grown distant, preoccupied. He'd take phone calls and slip into another room. He'd stay late at work more than usual, coming home with a strange vibe I couldn't pinpoint. When I asked, he'd brush it off, saying work was intense, his boss was riding him, or he was nervous about taking time off. I bought it because why wouldn't I? This was my husband of 12 years, the man who held my hand through 3 pregnancies, stayed up with sick kids, and still brought me coffee in bed every Sunday, just the way I like it. That morning, though, something felt wrong. Garrett kept glancing at his phone with a nervous edge that twisted my gut. Every ping made him flinch, and he kept running his fingers through his hair. A telltale sign he was hiding something small, like forgetting to grab groceries or pay a bill. But this wasn't about groceries. I felt it deep down, but I shoved the unease aside because today was supposed to be about our family. Today was supposed to be perfect. The kids were firing off questions about the plane, Costa Rica, and whether the hotel really had 3 pools like the website promised. I was juggling Phoenix's diaper bag, keeping track of boarding passes, and wrangling the chaos of traveling with 3 little ones. But part of me kept watching Garrett from the corner of my eye. He was sweating, and it wasn't the Florida heat we were escaping. His hands trembled as he scrolled through his phone, and every so often he'd glance at me with a look I couldn't name. Guilt, fear, I couldn't tell. I told myself maybe he was just nervous about flying. Garrett always got a bit jittery about travel, though he hid it from the kids, or maybe work really was stressing him out. His boss could be a real taskmaster, and taking a week off during a big project wasn't ideal. I made excuses for him in my head because that's what you do when you love someone. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You trust them. We were in line at the check-in counter when my world fell apart. Just like that. 1 second, I was managing Phoenix's bottle and keeping Tobias from darting off to gawk at the planes. The next, Garrett was whispering, "Selena, we can't go." Those 4 words hit me like a sledgehammer. "There's a work emergency. My boss called this morning. If I leave now, I could lose my job." I stared at him, waiting for the joke, for him to crack a smile and say he was kidding. There was no way he was serious. The kids were right there. Mila was in her special vacation outfit picked out just for this trip. Tobias had been practicing Spanish phrases for weeks. We had confirmed flights, confirmed reservations, everything. $12,000 of our lives were tied up in that booking. "What are you talking about?" I choked out, my voice sounding distant. "Garrett, we're about to check in. The kids are here, everything's paid for." That's when I saw it in his eyes, the look I'd been ignoring for weeks but couldn't name. It wasn't work stress, it wasn't flight anxiety, it was guilt. Raw, unmistakable guilt. And in that moment I knew this wasn't about his job. "I'm sorry we have to go home," he said, grabbing his suitcase and avoiding my gaze. "I'll make it up to you. We'll reschedule." Mila started crying, not loud, dramatic sobs, but the quiet, gut-wrenching kind that's so much worse. Tobias looked between us, trying to figure out why Daddy was making Mommy look like her heart had been ripped out. Phoenix, sweet and clueless, babbled and played with his hands, unaware his father was tearing our family apart in real time. Something broke inside me. Maybe it was the months of odd behavior, the secretive calls, the way he'd been pulling away emotionally and physically. Maybe it was seeing my kids' faces fall, or maybe it was just pure protective fury taking over. I snatched his phone from his hand. "If your boss is threatening to fire you, I'm calling him myself," I said, my voice eerily calm. "Right now?" Garrett lunged for the phone, panic flashing across his face. "Selena, you don't get it." But I was already scrolling, looking for his boss's number when a text notification popped up. From someone named Brooke. The preview stopped my heart. "Can't wait for our weekend, babe. The cabin's gonna be amazing." Time froze. The airport noise faded. My pulse pounded in my ears as I opened the message thread. What I found made my stomach churn. Messages stretching back weeks. Flirty, intimate texts. Plans for hotel stays, weekend getaways, and how much she missed him when he was stuck with his family duties. "Selena, please," Garrett begged, trying to grab the phone, but I backed away, still reading, still processing the complete destruction of everything I thought I knew. There were photos, plans for this very weekend while we were supposed to be in Costa Rica. He'd planned to send us home so he could spend our vacation with his 24-year-old assistant. The confrontation was fast, loud, and ugly right there in the middle of the airport. I didn't care who saw. I didn't care that strangers were staring. I didn't care that my kids were watching their mom unravel. All I cared about was that the man I'd given 12 years to, the man I'd trusted completely, had tried to steal our family vacation for another woman. "How long?" I yelled, louder than I'd ever shouted. "How long have you been lying to me?" The slap came from somewhere deep inside, raw and instinctual. I'm not proud of it, but watching him stammer excuses and downplay what I'd just uncovered, I couldn't stop myself. The sound echoed through the terminal, and for a moment everything went quiet. You know that moment when everything you believed about your life shatters, and you're left wondering who you even are? That was me, standing in Terminal B, with my 3 kids watching their parents tear each other apart in public. But sometimes, when everything crumbles, you find out who you're truly meant to be. Security was heading our way. Passengers were pulling out phones, and Garrett stood there, my handprint red on his cheek, trying to salvage something already broken beyond repair. The logical part of my brain screamed to calm down, think of the kids, handle this privately like a grown-up. But another part, the part that had been quietly dying under years of putting everyone else first, was awake for the first time in ages. "Selena, please," Garrett said, his voice shaky as he eyed the approaching security guards. "We can fix this. Let's go home and talk like adults." Fix this, like adults. As if he'd been acting like an adult while texting his assistant behind my back, while I was home handling diapers and bedtime routines. As if some conversation could erase months of lies, betrayal, and plans for secret trips with our family's money. "Fix this," I laughed, but it wasn't joyful. It was the sound of something breaking inside me, not weakly, but powerfully. "You want to fix the part where you used our vacation money for your girlfriend's getaways, or where you were going to break your kids' hearts so you could play house with someone barely out of college." Then Mila, my wise beyond her years 8-year-old, tugged my shirt and asked the question that changed it all. "Mommy, are we still gonna see the dolphins?" I looked at her tear-streaked face, at Tobias clutching his stuffed monkey like a lifeline, at Phoenix fussing because he could feel the tension even if he didn't understand it. These 3 perfect kids didn't deserve to suffer for their dad's selfishness. They'd packed their favorite toys, practiced swimming, learned hola and pour favor. And that's when the wildest, scariest, most exhilarating idea hit me. "You know what, Garrett?" I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised me. "You're right, we'll fix this in Costa Rica." His face paled. "What are you talking about?" "Kids," I said, turning to them with a smile that probably looked unhinged but felt so right. "We're going on vacation." "You can't be serious," Garrett said, stepping closer. "Selena, you can't take my kids to another country without my permission." My kids. Not our kids, my kids, as if he hadn't just thrown away every parental right the moment he chose his fling over his family. "Watch me," I said, and I meant every word. The security officers reached us as I gathered our bags with a resolve I didn't know I had. A kind-eyed, middle-aged woman asked if everything was okay. I looked her in the eye and said, "My husband just told me he's skipping our family vacation for other priorities, but my kids and I are still going." She glanced at Garrett, then back at me, and something clicked. Woman to woman, maybe mother to mother. She nodded and asked if I needed help getting to my gate. As I walked away from Garrett, pulling luggage and herding the kids towards security, I could hear him behind me, his voice growing desperate. But for the first time in years, I didn't look back. I didn't doubt myself. I wasn't worried about making someone else comfortable. Sometimes, the best revenge is living your best life while the person who tried to break you watches their world collapse. And let me tell you, karma has impeccable timing and a sharp sense of humor. We boarded that plane, and I'll never forget the rumble of the engine starting. The kids pressed their faces to the window, watching Florida fade away, and for the first time in months, I could breathe. Truly breathe. Mila grabbed my hand during takeoff and whispered, "Mommy, you're so strong." I started crying right there in seat 14A, but they were good tears. Freedom tears. Costa Rica was everything we'd hoped for and more. We swam with dolphins, built sandcastles Tobias swore were better than anything at Disney, and Phoenix took his first steps on a beach at sunset. I captured every moment, not to rub it in anyone's face, but to hold onto this trip forever. The trip where I discovered I was stronger than I ever knew. The trip where my kids learned that the best adventures come when you're brave enough to take them. While we were living our best lives in paradise, Garrett's world was imploding back home, and he was doing most of the damage himself. You see, when you build a life on lies, the foundation eventually cracks, and he was about to learn that the hard way. His first mistake was posting about his work emergency on social media, probably fishing for sympathy or to look like a dedicated employee sacrificing his family vacation. His second mistake was forgetting his mom follows both of us on Facebook. She saw my posts from Costa Rica with the kids. Let's just say Greek moms don't take kindly to their sons abandoning their grandkids. And Garrett's mother has a voice that could break glass and a family network that thrives on gossip. By day 3 of our trip, I was getting texts from friends and family asking what was going on. So I told them, not out of spite, but just the honest truth about what went down at the airport and why I was in Costa Rica with the kids while their dad was supposedly handling a work crisis. The story spread like wildfire because people love rooting for someone who stands up for themselves, and they love watching karma at work. Meanwhile, Brooke was getting a harsh lesson about what dating a married man really means. When your affair partner's wife exposes everything, and his whole family turns on him, that romantic cabin getaway loses its charm. Turns out, 24-year-olds aren't ready for the drama of wrecking a 12-year marriage. She dumped him via text while I was ziplining through the rainforest. But the real karma came when Garrett's boss learned the truth. You know, the boss who supposedly threatened to fire him over a vacation. Turns out, having an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate is the kind of thing that actually gets you fired, especially when it goes public and creates a toxic workplace. Garrett lost his job 3 days after we arrived in Costa Rica, not for taking a vacation, but for choosing his affair over his family, and the whole world found out. The divorce papers were waiting when he got served during his job hunt. Thanks to the airtight infidelity clause in our prenup, suggested by his lawyer friend, just in case. Garrett learned that cheating on your wife is a costly mistake. The house stayed with me and the kids. The savings he tapped for his secret trips, he had to pay it back, plus spousal and child support. 6 months later, I'm in our sunroom, watching the kids play in the backyard of the house that's now mine, planning our next family adventure. Garrett, he's in a studio apartment, working temp jobs, and seeing his kids every other weekend under court supervision. But here's the best part of this story. Remember the kind guy who helped us book the dolphin tour in Costa Rica? Marco, we've been talking daily since we got back, and next month he's visiting us here. Sometimes, when one door slams shut, the universe opens a window to something even better. If this story taught you anything about standing up for yourself and trusting your gut, smash that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories about real people finding their strength. Because sometimes, the scariest choice you'll ever make turns out to be the best decision of your life.